Okay, we're gonna do part three. I think this is getting somewhere. This is actually really good. I think this is gonna be most profitable. Spending my own money doing these for our posterity. So we kind of left off defending some of these positions and talking about what I think I'm talking about is the individual rights and why our government has, whatever we want to call it, our Western government has evolved into a government that is supposed to institute freedom. I don't think it's very possible. I think you have to very much limit your government way more than we have currently to actually have a government that advocates for freedom. Our government does not tolerate individual freedoms, and so and there's a reason for that. It's because they're scared shitless about how much power one person can do to demolish the entire institution that they've set up for themselves, and that's the power of God, if we can say such things, that God has in an individual and their inalienable rights that God has given them to suffer through their bullshit, endless bullshit, and you'll hear more about that later. And what we as an individual have real power to do, and so I'm really trying to empower everyone. No individual race, religion, creed, etc., gender, sex. I'm not going to talk about all that. I'm going to talk about how government institutes itself over the individual and why that's probably the worst thing that can happen instead of the opposite. So we as a people have the power to check our government, and if we don't, then it's got to go. It's got to go. And so, all right, don't worry about all that. Don't worry about it. We got lots of fights today. Lots of fights today. Maybe I'll call and talk about that shit. All right. So this shit's getting crazy, guys. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Societies. Yeah. Let's talk about this. Societies have to check each other. However, some things are reasonable and other things are not reasonable, and so there's no being bitter and mad at each other. That's the reason why we do have officials in some capacity. I don't know what we consider officials. We should talk about professionals and who we trust. Because the thing is, I don't really advocate for getting rid of police. I actually enjoy some things. Not so much the security element, but their professional abilities, forensic science, etc. But you don't need to be an official to do all that. But if we had people in societies that we trusted and that were open and honest, we'd certainly get rid of all this bullshit that's causing a lot of grief in our government. So a lot of these societies and secret orders and stuff like that to protect themselves and institute themselves over others, that's basically what we're fighting. Tyranny is another name for it. Deep state, some people call it that. Unelected bureaucrats is kind of a misnomer when we talk about that, because most of our elected officials aren't even elected anymore. So we think about like, oh yeah, we have to put these unelected bureaucrats in check. It's like, well, just read my case about Merrick Garland and how he did all this shit against not just me but other disabled veterans and stuff. And you can read more about other cases that put him in check. It's not too hard to put these people in check. They're actually useless faggots, Merrick Garland especially. So yeah, but that's the kind of power if we actually use our court system. But the thing is, our courts are kind of manipulated, a lot of manipulated, and our case laws kind of haven't endured for the sake of equality or freedom or any of that crap. So, anyways, we're gonna talk about some of that. I think it's important that we have people that are trusted and actually know what they're talking about, studied science, forensics, etc., can articulate deeply instead of trying to protect it and hide things in these giant things like the 9/11 Commission, etc., or the Commission for the January 6th, people that deleted all the evidence and tried to make it hard, excruciatingly hard to actually what they're instituting and the amount of bullshit with that committee, the J6 Unselect Committee of traitors. And a lot of these guys are. A lot of these people are traitors. We talked about, well, some of these people have positions for life, staffers, et cetera, because they're so well qualified. And I think we should have term limits on staffers as well as officials. Supreme Court, I think there was a good system under the Articles of Confederation. Back then, we had a pretty good idea how Supreme Court should be. And not just say, oh, we're appointing these people for life so that they can protect a constitution by dismantling it over lots of bullshit, blackmail. Anyway, so kind of get back to the whole idea of importance of individual freedom and rights. When we go back to my position about, there's not really any reason to believe that there's natural rights. It's people that defend our own rights, people's rights. People do. People. So, if we look at one God in particular versus another, I don't think God really is a person. You can say Jesus was God or whatever, but it's just not really worth arguing over this recording. I don't think God is a person or ever was a person. I don't even know what God really is, or certainly don't know what God thinks. I do know what people think, and so we have to kind of condition ourselves a little bit here to realize not everyone believes that God is a person. So anyway, people put checks on people, and we are within reason to allow certain things. But the more ignorant we are of this stuff, and the more we start saying, well, some people are more equal than others, et cetera, like Animal Farm, you see the dangers kind of there. No, we're not going to go down that route today. So, I feel like I'm rambling. I really wish there wasn't so much commotion going on here. Tension over here. So, anyways, people respect each other's rights, and when they can't, there's laws and stuff for that. I think it was John Locke, who said that, laws, he wasn't the only one, trust me, but we're just going to say this name so that people feel more calm about what I'm about to say, that laws should advocate for freedom. And I think that's really important to get legislators in there that understand that, instead of limiting people's freedoms and turning people into subjects. We should allow people to have the most freedom for their most sake, for their most purpose, so they can have lives that are actually meaningful instead of all being slaves inside this shitty society that doesn't even advocate for rights at all. Whether you're still not a slave or not, doesn't really matter. The guards don't actually have like wristbands here that tell you that you're not convicted yet. You're all the same here, and by that you're all less equal than the guards. And you're malnourished. You lose lots of weight unless you have someone on the outside that can back you up with the shitty commissary they got here. And even then, there's no way you're still malnourished. So there's no balanced meals. There's none of that. It's the cheapest thing they can get under contract to feed you. And it's mostly cornmeal. It's mostly corn syrups. It's mostly corn-fed pigs that we are in here. So, there's other things. Soy, so they make you more docile. So soy, turkey, one size fits all, because Muslims are in here and they can't actually, and I don't know why they incarcerate. Maybe it's because they don't have enough myelin sheath from not eating pig fat and lard. So I don't know. There's lots of arguments to be had here, but we are all weak. We're all very weak here, mentally, physically, spiritually. They allow us to have certain religious freedoms, but it's only selected what is. You're not going to get good religions here. Not ones that actually advocate for freedom. Ones that say you're free guilty, like Christianity. Others that advocate for slavery, such as Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, etc. So, I'm not saying that these are bad. You can certainly believe in them, but, these are not the things that a free society, first world nation should be pre-selecting as religions of choosing and forcing other people. I mean, the only way you can get bacon in here is by buying bacon bits, and it's hardly bacon. So that's not enough bacon pork fat, to sustain a functional brain, in my opinion. So you can call me whatever. I don't really give a shit. But those are my beliefs, and I'm certainly going to allow people to practice their beliefs in here. So all of them, unlike the government. So anyway, I'm taking the moral high ground there for my own self. I'm certainly going to do that. There's lots of stuff besides criminal stuff going on in here and other criminal stuff. I think I've pretty much laid it out there. I think I've said a lot. I think I'll just work on the idea of closing that. I feel like I'm stammering and mumbling ever since that fight broke out that the guards did nothing about. Yeah, I got assaulted and I got thrown in the hole for over a year. I couldn't leave for my own safety, according to them, even though I didn't run a risk of anything. But they couldn't house me anywhere other than the hole. Yeah, give me a fucking break. And I couldn't leave. It was for my own good, my own protection. I wasn't able to practice any religion while I was there, unless it was by myself and I wasn't talking with anyone, because practicing one faith over another might upset everyone else that was in there, etc. It's really ridiculous shit that you have to tolerate these slave societies. And our system is the biggest slave society I've ever seen. America, the place that says that they're very free, the most free country in the world, has the highest incarceration rates, where they tell you in the Constitution that if you're convicted, you're a slave. When you get in here, you don't have any rights any more than the slaves do. So, whether you're convicted or not. So that's pretty important stuff. This is a lot of important stuff here. Obviously, we deviated a lot from the Constitution. In my opinion, individual freedoms don't matter one iota. And I pretty much, in essence, lived it. You can tell me I didn't, but I certainly have. Mistreated, was denied health services. They're not even good when you get them. You have to argue with an expert that's abusing. I put in a grievance for health care. They wanted me to say all of my stuff out loud. I think I covered that. They wanted me to just say everything that was wrong with me to a nurse outside my door while I was in the hole. They wouldn't even allow me to leave to go actually talk in private with people. I mean, it's this kind of shit that goes on here, and that's pretty much what society is now. So when we talk about, right to privacy, there is none. Private corporations, government are all spying on each other and you. It's not just here, that's worldwide. But just because the government's not allowed to use some of...
You have 1 minute remaining.
Just because the government's not allowed to use some of it, and then certainly can still, but they run the risk of throwing away, and losing the privilege of spying on us illegally by going through the courts with some of this stuff. So they keep it all under wraps, and they're looking for you to slip up so they can catch you and say, okay, we have enough to go off of, and if we don't, we'll run it through a FISA court, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think as the society's toast, we're going to have a lot of discussion to do when all these guys, these tyrants, are out of the way. That's coming soon, so get ready for one hell of a show. I certainly am. I got front row seats here in D.C., but it's coming to a town in a theater near you all over the United States and world. So this is Taylor Taranto, and I hope this made a lot of sense and was good for the future and your kids' kids and your kids' kids' kids and kids' kids.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.